So, good morning. In continuation with the previous video, there we discussed encoders and priority encoder, difference between encoder and priority encoder. So, in this video, I am going to explain industrial IC, that is 74LS148. Okay, and here it is the block diagram. From the block diagram, we can say 8 inputs 0 to I0 to I7 and 2 outputs A2, A1, A0. So we can say it is a 3 to 8 to 3 encoder. So 74LS138 is an encodes 8 data lines to 3 line. So the 3 line corresponding to octal code, that is 4 to 1. Okay, again it is a priority encoder. So 74148 is a 8 is to 3 priority encoder. 8 is to 3 priority encoder. And here we have additional outputs. One is enable input and enable output, EI and EO, for cascading purpose. Those we use for cascading purpose. Okay, yeah, and for all types, data inputs are and data outputs are all active low. See, observe the black diagram. Bubbles are added in the input side as well as output side. So inputs as well as outputs are all active low. So enable input is also active low and enable output is also active low, and one more output is there, that is GS, group select. So when one among this is selected, it makes it is 0, otherwise it is 1. See the function table. In the input side, enable input and data inputs. In the output side, outputs, group select and enable output. EO. The first row, if EI is 1, since it is up to low, if it is 1, it disables. So whatever may be I0 to I7, outputs are all, you are expecting 0 0, since it is up to low, 1 1, it's complement 1 1, all ones. So one among this is not selected. So group select is 1. 1 means not selected, 0 means selected. Again it is up to low. Okay, whether it requires to enable second cascading, no, because first one itself is not enabled. We could not able to check whether these inputs are selected or not. So it is not required to enable the second one. So enable output is 1. Correct. See, observe the second row. Enable input is 0, that is enabled, and all are 1 1. That means no one is selected. So the corresponding output is all ones. So no one from this group is selected, that is GS is 1. So it requires to enable the second one. That is why enable output is 0. Observe the next row. Enable input is 0 and I0 is 0, the remaining all 1 1. So I0 is selected. So corresponding output is all 1 1 1. So one among this is selected, so GS is 0. So and it is not required to enable the second one, so enable output is 1. So in the next row, I0 is don't care, it can be either 0 or 1. If I1 is 0, that is I priority, selected, and I priority goes to highest index, decimal index value, right? So if I1 is 0, remaining all 1 1, the code is 1 1 0 in active low combination. Correct? So group is selected, no need to enable the second one. So this is how we complete the function table. So this is the function table of 74148. Remember, here additional feature is enable input, enable output and group select, and they are useful for cascading purpose. Now let's see realization of 16:4 encoder using two 8 8:3 priority encoder. So 16:4 means 16 inputs, 4 outputs. So using 8:3 priority encoder. So this is what the function table of 16:4 priority encoder. So 16 inputs, they are I0 to I15, 4 outputs, Y3 to Y0, again active low right now. So if I0 is selected, that is 0, remaining all 1, so corresponding code is 4 ones. Similarly, next row, don't care, I0 is don't care, I1 is selected, the remaining are not selected, so the code is corresponding to I1. Clear now? Observe again, the table is divided. In the input side, we divided I0 to I7 as one section, I8 to I15 as another section. Again, that means we consider input I0 to I7 are inputs of one priority encoder, and inputs I8 to I15 are inputs of second priority 8:3 priority encoder. Correct? So when first one is selected, okay, that is I0 to I7, I8 to I15 are not selected. I mean, second priorities need not be selected. Priority encoder need not be selected. So when the first priority encoder is selected, need not to select the second one. So when we are selecting second one, when first one is all, don't care. Correct? So that means observe the columns of I8 to I15. So again, it is divided in the row wise. First 8 columns, Y3 is 1, and the remaining 8 columns, Y3 is a 0. So we need to select outputs of either first priority encoder or from the second priority encoder. So to select that, we need multiplexer. Okay, 2:1 multiplexer. So 74157 is a quad 2:1 multiplexer. Means it has 4 2:1 multiplexers. It's in the same single package. So this is the block diagram. See, 1A, 1B, 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. It is a A source. 1B, 2B, 3B, 4B. It is a B source. So outputs are 1Y, 2Y, 3Y, 4Y. As I said, 2:4, 2:1 marks. No, for one multiplexer, 1A, 1B is the input, 1Y is the output. For second multiplexer, 2A, 2B is the input, 2Y is the output. For third multiplexer, 3A, 3B is the input, 3Y is the output. Similarly, for fourth multiplexer, 4A, 4B is the input and 4Y is the output. Apart from this, it has a enable input, that is G bar, and one select inputs, A bar, B. That means if it is 0, it select A source. If it is 1, that is B source. So for first multiplexer, 1A, 1B, 1Y. If it is 0, 1A value will be passed to 1Y. If it is 1, 1B value will be passed. So this is the function table. In the input side, strobe input, we call it as enable input, G bar, select inputs, data inputs, and output. So if enable input is 1, that is G bar is 1, whatever may be select input or whatever may be data inputs, output is 0. Correct? If strobe input is 0, that is enabled. If select input is 0, the value of A will be passed to Y. See, next two rows, A bar B is 0, 0. So the value of A is passed, whatever may be B. And in the next two rows, if select input is 1, the value of B is passed to output. So it has active low strobe, G bar, and select input A bar B. So that means 4-bit word is selected from one of the two sources. and route it to the 4 outputs based on the value selected. That means either it select 1A to 4A or it select 1B to 4B, and that will be passed to 1Y to 4Y. Okay, 4-bit word is selected from one of the two sources, that is either A source or B source based on the select inputs. If select input is 0, it select 4-bit from the A source, and if select input is 1, it select 4-bit word from B source. Okay, and the block diagram is shown. So now this is the cascading diagram. See, 74148 is a 8:3 priority encoder, correct? So we use 2 1. So 741481 and 741482. So inside the block diagram, I0 to I7 and I0 to I7. So for the left one, we connect I0 to I7 of 16:4 priority encoder, right now. To the right one, that is 741481, we connect I8 to I15, and enable input of the right one is connected to ground, that is always 0, means it is selected. So if one among these is not selected, enable output becomes 0. That gives to enable input of the left one, and it makes the left one is enabled. Next one is enabled. Similarly, enable output of left one is connected to the next stage. Okay, and outputs of the priority encoder are connected to, for the left or right one, they are connected to A source input of multiplexer, and the right one outputs are connected to B source of multiplexer. Okay, and output of the multiplexer are outputs of the 16:4 priority encoder. This is how we connect two priority encoder, 8:3 priority encoder, along with the quad 2:1 multiplexer to construct 16:4 priority encoder. Okay, and these are the differences between encoder and decoder. It is built in the exam for 5 marks. With the aid of block diagram, clearly distinguish between a decoder and encoder. So we have written the block diagram for both encoder and decoder. In the encoder side, inputs are more than outputs. In the decoder side, outputs are more than inputs. Okay. In the encoder side, only one input is active at a time. In the decoder side, only one output line is respond to each input combination, except function specific decoder. In the encoder side, priority can be assigned to input in the input priority encoder. In the decoder side, priorities cannot be assigned to outputs. These are the differences between encoders and decoders. See, one question, it is repeatedly appeared in the exam, that is interface draw interfacing diagram of 10 key keypad interface to a digital system using decimal to BCD encoder. In the second question, they have specified 74LS147. Okay, and it is a decimal to BCD priority encoder. Repeatedly the question is appeared. So first we'll see what is 74147. So 74147 is an decimal to BCD priority encoder. Decimal means 10 input, BCD means 4 output. Okay, so 74LS147, it encodes 9 data inputs instead of 10. Here 9. That means default, if no one is selected, 0 is the selected one. It encodes 9 data lines to 4. Remember, 9 to 4. Okay, the implied decimal 0 condition requires no input condition. Okay, as 0 is encoded when all 9 data lines are at I logic level, means if the remaining all 9 is not selected, by default it select a 0. So this is the block diagram. Okay, 9 inputs, there are 1 to 9, and 4 outputs A, B, C, D, and one pin number is not connected, and the remaining 2 pin are VCC and ground. And this is the function table. See, as from the block diagram, inputs are also octave low, outputs are also octave low. See the function table, inputs are 1 to 9, outputs are D, C, B, A. A is LSB, D is MSB. In the first row, all are 1, 1. That means all are not selected. So by default, it selects 0. That corresponding code is 4 ones. So in the next one, one input is selected, the remaining are not selected. So the corresponding code is 1110. In the next row, 1 is don't care, 2 is 0. So what can be either 0 or 1? It selects 2. So similarly, in the next row, 1 and 2 is don't care, 3 is selected, the remaining are not selected. So the corresponding code is 1100. So this is the function table of 74LS147. Remember, it is a 9 to 4 priority encoder. It's also called as decimal to BCD priority encoder. And this is the logic diagram. This is the logic diagram. So here we have a 10 switches. Here we have a 10 switches. Name them as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And one is connected to switch. One is connected to pin. Input 1 of 74LS147. Similarly, 2 is connected to input 2. 3 is connected to input 3. Goes on, and 9 is connected to input 9. Clear? When the switch is open, it provides output 1. So it is not selected. If the switch is closed, it provides output a 0. 0 means it is selected. Suppose switch 2 is closed, it gives 0. That 0 select the input 2, and gives the corresponding output. So this is what interfacing of 10 key keypad. So 10 key keypad to 74LS147, and this is a decimal to BCD encoder. Clear, no? So with this, both encoder and decoder is completed. Thank you.